India Today's biannual tracker that's created plenty of buzz as we focused on what would happen if elections are held today. We've looked closely at Prime Minister Modi's foreign policy initiatives. We're also going to look at other hot button issues from Manipur to Uniform Civil Code to the state of the economy over the next hour.
With us on this broadcast, Yashwant Deshmukh, lead cephalogist at CVoter for Political Perspective. We are joined by Sanju Verma, the feisty national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, squaring off against her, the equally feisty spokesperson and head of the social media cell of the Congress, Supriya Shrinate. So this is going to be an interesting round of political exchange between them. With us for Perspective is Shankar Iyer, well-known commentator, analyst and author. And my colleague at Business Today Television is Managing Editor Siddharth Zarabi. So let's get started with a set of questions on the centre's handling of the situation in Manipur. Question number one, who's to blame for the Manipur crisis? Here is what 1,60,000 respondents in the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll have to say. Who's to blame? 30% blame the centre, 25% blame the state government, 20% blame the Kuki and the Maitai communities. So they're blaming the communities, that's at 20%, 25% blaming the Biren Singh government, 30% blaming the centre. Next question, what should be the next step on Manipur? Here are the answers. Impose President's rule. 44% say President's rule must be imposed. 21% say negotiations should be fast-tracked. 20% say there should be a fast judicial probe. But the biggest number there, Sanju Verma, in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll is 44% of the respondents in this big survey say your government, madam, needs to impose President's rule in the state of Manipur. How do you respond to this?
My simple response to that is when it comes to imposing Article 356 of President's rule, the Modi government has always acted with a lot of discretion. If you recall the Vajpayee tenure and the last 9 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in all, the BJP-led NDA under both these dispensations has imposed Article 356 in a very limited manner, all of 9 times. Please understand, Rahul, that we are not like the Congress, where Pandit Nehru imposed Article 356 9 times, Manmohan Singh and P.V. Narasimha Rao between them 21 times, Indira Gandhi 49 times, and Rajiv Gandhi 7 times. More than 82 or 83 times, President's rule was imposed under successive Congress regimes. That said, I think, the limited point is this, that this government does not shy away from accountability. We've learned our lessons, and the fact that we've ensured there will be a fast-track, time-bound CBI probe, and we've said that, if need be, have the jurisdiction of the entire investigation outside the aegis of the Manipur state, so that nobody can say that there was a ham-handed investigation. Okay. And I think that speaks volumes about the fact that we are willing to be transparent.
Ma'am, with due regard, a lot of those initiatives have been taken after Supreme Court intervention. I would point out that our survey is also saying sack the chief minister and impose the president's rule is 1 in every 2 clearly. So clearly there is a mood that people want something more drastic to be done. But Supriya Shrinate, the point that Sanju Verma is making, saying president's rule is for this government wants to give its elected chief minister a chance to resolve the issues in Manipur. Even as we speak, Mr. Biren Singh has met the Home Minister only yesterday. Efforts are on through back channels to bring the Kuki and Maitai groups together. Why impose president's rule? Is this scoring political points in a very complex, fragile situation in Manipur? Ms. Shrinate.
Not at all, and I don't think BJP will understand that scoring political points at this juncture is causing the country very, very dearly, and especially 32 lakh people of Manipur. The reality is that the majority of those who you have surveyed, and the BJP would like to believe this survey, let us not shy away from the fact that the majority of those who you surveyed believe that the double-engine government, both the centre and the state, are actually responsible for where Manipur has landed, the grave situation of Manipur. And let us also not forget that 44% of the respondents believe what we have been saying, that Article 356 of the Constitution needs to come into effect. You need to sacrifice a chief minister to maintain order and to win over the trust that has been lost. Forget about anybody else. Look at that letter that has been signed by your own BJP cookie MLAs today. What are they saying? Sack Biren Singh, get president's rule. They are not satisfied with the kind of action that the state government is taking. And I think that erosion of trust and faith is rampant in Manipur, and the government needed to act. Who are you trying to protect here? The perpetrator of the crime who within his party people believe this is a state-sponsored terror. We are not saying so. Your own MLAs are saying that. And in writing
Yashwant Deshmukh, if you look at the sequence of events, there's a court order where the government appears partisan, and that's how the clashes start. However, in the responses, 30% are blaming the center for the Manipur crisis. People in the center will look at this and say, "Boss, humne nahi start kiya ye." There are local ethnic clashes, which is only 20%. The state government is actually largely to blame because it happened on their watch and they weren't able to step in. And then ultimately it comes out of a court order, which they'll say is beyond their control. And yet the center is taking the flak in your survey. Explain that.
I think when the initial snap polls came in, at that point of time, people were fairly and squarely blaming the state government directly, that not able to control the government. But now that emotion, that it's a failure of the central government is largely to do with that why aren't you doing anything? You know, you are talking about a double engine sarkar. You are in the state, you are in the center. You are neither firing your chief minister. You are not even replacing your chief minister. Least you could do, if at least go ahead and put up a president rule, give the state to the army, do something about it. It is more of that helplessness which is coming in.
Did you poll people in Manipur? Was that possible given the situation there, or this was one of the states where you were not able to poll?
We were, because you know, our CATI polls are on telephonic, and the majority of the time the telephone services were down in many of those northeastern, not just many of those troubled states. So it's not about Manipur, but I mean, the way I look at it, that the question of Manipur, by and large, was discussed throughout India. People knew about what was going on. Maybe they would not know what the complications of the issues are. That's fine. But the violence and the way it was being going on, and the government was not doing anything, the Manipur government, the first thing they wanted to see, at least sack the chief minister, if not put in the president rule, do something about it.
The reason I asked that, Rahul, is my sense is today in Manipur, if you went to any Kuki area or spoke to any Kuki, they'd want Biren Singh sacked and president's rule imposed. If you went to any Maitai area, it would be just the opposite.
Of course.
You see, and therefore that's the risk in a way that the government is running. Should the government, because like it or not, Biren Singh has become a polarizing figure and caught in this ethnic tangle. And therefore, Sanju Verma, you know, the double engine concept, which was just mentioned by Yashwant Deshmukh, comes in. You, at the moment, have always prided yourself on this double engine, saying double engine is going to give you development. In Manipur, this double engine has become the noose around your neck. Had this been an opposition chief minister, you might have acted against him. He's one of your own. And you want to, in a sense, protect him because he's seen as a Maitai hero today for some.
Now, Rajdeep, that's a lengthy question. I hope you will have the patience to listen to my response. With no offense to the poll, because obviously the poll says that 63% people are satisfied with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's performance, and 52% see Narendra Modi coming back with a thumping majority for the third consecutive time in a row. So hats off to the poll. I'm not going to believe it in parts and disbelieve it in parts. Coming specifically to Manipur, let me be very honest with you. You know, the fact of the matter is that Manipur became a state, a bona fide state on the 21st of January, 1972. And I'm not denying that there has been violence in the last 3 months. But if you strip aside the last 3 months, ever since BJP at the state level came to power in 2017, in the last 6 years, I can say with a tremendous amount of confidence and a whole lot of responsibility, the last 6 years of the double engine government under Prime Minister Modi's aegis and that of Biren Singh have been the most peaceful. Do you recall, Rajdeep Sardesai, that at the height of insurgency in Manipur in 2010-11, Manipur used to face curfews for 139 days at a stretch? Do you also recall that ASPA was blatantly imposed in Manipur across various districts, whereas now ASPA is being applied only in certain districts, which again speaks volumes about the fact that law and order has come back
and then we'll move to
to
our
being
next talking
normal.
point. You made your point. You're saying, Manipur does not allow any silver bullet solutions. The public out there, as per our poll, may want a silver bullet, Supriya Shrinet, but there are no silver bullets. There has been violence in the past. Ibobi Singh was Chief Minister of the Congress for 15 years in Manipur. No one that time said, replace Ibobi Singh.
If women were being paraded naked and the central government spoke only when a horrific video came to fore, Ibobi Singh should have been replaced. That's all that I'm going to say. I'm not going to politicize it. The reality is that what women and children in Manipur and 60,000 of those still in relief camps, Biren Singh needs to go. Don't listen to me. Listen to your 10 kooky MLAs who've signed a letter today and they say that they have no faith whatsoever. And let me also tell you, this whole attempt to paint a rosy picture in the Northeast, please don't mislead the people. It was in the Northeast where Assam and Mizoram were firing bullets at each other. It was in the Northeast where you've signed a pact with Nagaland that nobody knows about. It was in the Northeast where Arunachal Pradesh, your own MP Tapir Gaon, has said China incursion has reached to a point where they're setting up villages within our borders. That's Northeast for you.
We are not
so
discussing China, we are discussing
You may have gone back from the Doklam clash, the eye-to-eye ball clash, but there's complete fortification.
So we also need to keep moving the needle, otherwise we'll get caught in just one subject.
Both of you, you've had enough time. Let's move on.
Let's go to the Uniform Civil Code and the question about how people perceive the implementation of a Uniform Civil Code. So let's call that up on the screen and take you through people's responses to this question. So here it is on your screen right now, the response to the question on the Uniform Civil Code and the kind of mood in the country around whether or not a Uniform Civil Code should be implemented. 62% of the respondents in this poll are saying yes, they'd like a Uniform Civil Code, 24% are saying no. Interestingly though, Yashwant's data seems to suggest that the number of those who want the UCC to be implemented is coming down from 73 to 62. And those who are saying they would not like the UCC to come in are going up from 14 to 24. There is still a big gap. There is still a massive gap between the 62 and 24. But what explains this change between January last year to August this year? Yashwant.
I think there is a lot of politicization that is going on this particular, and political positionings are very critical to be observed. There is a big number of chief ministers and opposition party leaders who have been airing, their reservations that this should not happen. Including some of the alliance partners also saying that, we need to discuss this more. But more than this drop, I think 62% saying that we should have a UCC is a huge number, on a question to have a kind of referendum of sorts in that way. And by and large, ideally this should have been an issue where there should be a more public debate and public education going on. But at the moment, the way it is going ahead, it seems to be more politically polarizing the debate rather than making a consensus.
Supriya Shrinet, part of that is that the Congress, interestingly, almost doesn't want to take a stand at the moment, saying, please show us the Uniform Civil Code document before we comment. Is that a recognition in a way that this is one of the issues that if Mr. Modi is to push ahead with, he will carry the day? Or is the Congress wary, therefore, of entering this terrain of Uniform Civil Code in the first instance?
If there is one thing that the Congress is not wary about is the hot air balloons that the Modi government keeps releasing. I will come to the Uniform Civil Code in just a bit. The government also came out with CAA. It has been over 3 years. The rules have still not been notified because that was yet another hot air balloon that they tried and they failed miserably. And this is again a hot air balloon. The government of the day, the elected government of the day needs to put forward a draft. And I think we need to know what is the BJP stand on it. Just because some media channels are going to debate this, we are not going to espouse and start giving our opinions in thin air. We need to see what is the government stand on it, because this is not just about Hindus or Muslims. This is about the Sikhs, this is about the Parsis, this is about the Buddhists, this is about the tribals, this is about the matrilineal communities, this is about a lot of people. Don't make this a polarizing debate between the Hindus and the Muslims, and I think the media is, you know, sort of falling prey for that. The government of the day needs to clear its stand, and for that the hot air balloon needs to go away, and they need to put forward a draft. They brought CAA, no rules notified, 3 years down the line. That's their reality, and which is why I'm going to reserve my comment and judgment on this. Let the government produce a draft.
Sanju Verma, do you want to respond to the fact that in January 2022, 73%, that's almost 3 in 4, wanted UCC? That number has now come down to 6 in 10. So rather than the demand for UCC leading to more public support for the UCC, the numbers, in this case, the trend line is negative.
You know, now I heard the Congress panelists, I want my time. And let me tell you, before answering your question, Rahul, I'm not going to hold back my punches. You know, the Congress panelists spoke about another hot air balloon by Narendra Modi. अरे भाई, hot air balloon यदि किसी ने आज तक आसमान में छोड़े हैं, that is, you know, successively incompetent Congress dispensations. Imagine, the biggest hot air balloon is the fact that when the entire world is celebrating, as India became the first nation to have a landing on the south pole of the moon, and Narendra Modi is being congratulated by one and all. What does the Congress do? Forget congratulating ISRO and the scientists. Look at the official tweet by the official Congress handle saying ये तो नेहरू जी की कृपा है. नेहरू जी ने इनकोस्पार सेटअप किया था 1962 में. अरे भाई, आपके नेहरू जी, he died in 1964. He did zilch for the space mission. Your party arrested Nambi Narayanan in 1994 when the Congress was in power in Kerala and also in the center under the aegis of P.V. Narasimha Rao. And today it was Nambi Narayanan's Vikas rocket engine which was used in the Chandrayaan-3 mission. If you have a little bit of shame, don't talk about hot air balloon. Apologize to the nation for undermining the credibility of one of the most decorated scientists, Nambi Narayanan. Then talk about hot air balloon. I will have a discussion with you. And now talking about the Uniform Civil Code. Let's be very clear that Uniform Civil Code was meant to be executed ages back. Because Article 44 of the Constitution, while the directive principles of state policy clearly say that a uniform civil code should have been implemented within the territory of India, the Congress as always was snoozing from Nehru to Indira to Rajiv to Manmohan to Sonia's kitchen cabinet. They have not even espoused a clear stand on uniform civil code, whereas we are saying we will make it happen, because if you can have one single Indian penal code, then why not a common civil code? And let me just tell you, I will end with one thing. The Congress will never give you a clear answer on the Uniform Civil Code. You know why? Because the moment they do so, I will question them. A party which sheds crocodile tears for Bilkis Bano till date has not apologized for what Rajiv Gandhi did to Shah Bano by bringing in that infamous 1986 Muslim divorce bill and denying Shah Bano a monthly alimony of measly 179 rupees.
Supriya says she wants to respond. Okay, I'm going to give you, we have to move on, but I'm giving you one final response. She just WhatsApped me, I need to respond. Go ahead.
She's making her own rundown on the side. That's the thing about being a PVL. Let's go very quickly.
Simply because I don't want to get into a...
Let Supriya respond. Then we need to move to the economy. Go on.
Yes.
She responded and I rebutted. Now you're going back to her. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a mudslinging match. I think I'm way too senior.
Go ahead.
This is unfair.
I think I'm way too senior to get into this mudslinging match with a foul-mouthed BJP spokesperson. But the reality is just as simple as this. The reality is that the Congress... Go ahead. Forget it. No point. There's no point.
Okay. Let me, in the meanwhile, I'll take a question in the meanwhile. Since neither wants to speak, here's the question. Will the UCC help the BJP in the polls? Why I'm rushing is because we have a lot of ground to cover and time is limited, so we really need to hit the accelerator. Okay, 72% of the respondents say the UCC they think will help the BJP electorally, 17% no. Now, how do you interpret this data, Yashwant? Because while, yes, it's true that 72% think it will help the BJP electorally, this 17% is also a big number, and they will push back some of the tribal communities, some members of the Dalit community. We've seen some of the religious leaders, Sikh leaders, Christian leaders. So this 17% is not as arithmetically small as it actually appears politically. It's a big 17% that the BJP is wary about.
It's a big 17%, but I think what their strategists are thinking that this is the same 17% which has not been voting for us in any ways. So it doesn't really impact them. What they are looking at, that the probable vote share as per the MOTN is at 42%, and Rajdeep has been maintaining. And this we are talking about 72%. So is there any catchment area further by implementing the UCC and trying to, explore the opportunity of putting in some more from this category?
Actually, these numbers will give the BJP even greater confidence that we must go ahead, at least make UCC a campaign issue. The problem with the Uniform Civil Code is that there is very little reasoned, rational debate. There hasn't been a draft. We don't know. There should be a proper public debate. Whatever is done, please send your suggestions to the Law Commission. At the end of the day, it has got polarized into tragically Hindu versus Muslim,
exactly.
when it should not be. The fact is tribals will be affected. The fact is there will be various other Hindu communities which will be affected. It is a law that needs reasoned, rational debate. And unfortunately in this country, because of the nature of polarization, Rahul, I think that's not going to happen. But these numbers will push the BJP to do it.
Supriya Srinath wants to come in because she didn't get the opportunity to complete her argument. 72% of the respondents in the poll seem to think the UCC will benefit the BJP. Supriya Srinath.
No, before I go to the 72%, I want to go back to Chandrayaan because I don't want to get into a mudslinging match like the BJP spokesperson. She enjoys that.
Bring down her voice. Bring down your voice. Sanju Verma, she must be allowed to speak.
The ISRO scientists, engineers.
Go ahead, Supriya.
We were not just the first to congratulate the ISRO scientists, not denying them the hour of their glory like the Prime Minister did. Our Deputy Chief Minister from Karnataka was at ISRO and our Chief Minister met them early next morning. That's who the Congress party is. And don't give me lessons on what you did. The reality is that a country that came out of 200 years of colonial rule could dream big of exploring the space because of a visionary like Nehru who spoke about scientific temper. So people like you who believe plastic surgery was happening in way bygone years, please don't tell me what you have and not been able to achieve. The reality is you've cut budget for science and technology, you've cut budget for space exploration, you've cut budget for innovation, you've cut budget for R&D. The day you start augmenting those budgets, have a detailed discussion.
Do you want a reasoned debate on Uniform Civil Code, yes or no? 72% of this country seems to want it.
We are not going to talk on this.
Do you want to have a reasoned public debate? Do you believe there should be a reasoned public debate?
No, 72% does not. 62% does. That number has been consistently coming down, as you say yourself. No, Rajdeep, the reality is that this country today is more plagued with issues like unemployment, with issues like high prices, with issues like falling incomes, with rising poverty, and which is why they don't care about the hot air balloons that the BJP wants to float.
We come to those issues then.
Where are the rules? That's the simple question I asked, to which they never have an answer.
Let's leave it there.
Let's spend some time now talking about the Modi government's handling of the Indian economy and how do people perceive this. So question number one, in the section on the economy, how do people think the government is doing on the handling of the economy? 47% of the respondents in this poll are saying the government they think is doing a good job. 54% said good last time. Before that it was 48. So about half the respondents think the government is doing a good job, and about 3 in 10 respondents think the government isn't doing a good job. What's the view on the unemployment situation? On the question of unemployment, 72% say the problem with unemployment is serious, 10% say the problem with unemployment is not serious. Has the government been able to generate enough jobs? 30% say yes, indeed, adequate number of jobs are being generated. 34% say no, not at all, there aren't enough jobs. 24% say, okay, some jobs are being generated, but that isn't enough. Who managed the economy better? Was the economy better handled under economist Manmohan Singh or under Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Now, in response to this, 44% of the respondents say that Narendra Modi is handling the economy better. 42% say Manmohan Singh handled the economy better. Shankar Iyer, what do you make of the fact that non-economist Narendra Modi gets 2% more marks if this was an exam than the formidable economist Manmohan Singh, who only 42% of the respondents thought handled the economy better? Why is Manmohan Singh losing to non-economist Modi on the question of the handling of the economy?
Well, handling of the economy is a very contextual question, Rahul. The fact is, under the Modi regime, projects have been implemented better, more efficiently. There are certain programs that have been pushed through, certain subsidies have been cut. And also, you have to, there's an old maxim, the leader is only as good as his team or as good as its implementation of his decision. So in the case of the Modi government, the articulation, the communication about the economy, the blitzkrieg that is launched on every decision is far more pervasive than probably the silent era of Manmohan Singh. So that having been said, what is interesting in this poll is consistently, and Yashwant might want to sort of add to this, is the outlook on the management of the economy beyond the optics of who did better. Look at the unemployment thing, and it sort of reflects the K-shaped economy that we are all faced with. And unemployment in India is quite paradoxical in a sense, because there is unemployment, and then there are 2 million government posts vacant. I think the focus of the people, the 70+% who are worried about unemployment, is not who managed better, but why isn't it getting managed better?
That is a consistent theme in a way, Yashwant, of all your polls now. If there was one hot button issue on which is an Achilles heel for this government, it is unemployment. Because when you ask, has the Modi government been able to generate jobs? Only 30% says yes. Little jobs is 24% say little job, not at all 34%. So if I add 34 to 24, 58% are saying either very few jobs or none at all have been generated. And 72% say the unemployment situation is serious. Now, the Modi government will argue and say this is, there has been a global downturn. We've struggled with COVID, with Ukraine. But the public out there is not interested in that. While they give the Modi government reasonable marks and not good marks, 44 versus 42 is not a big gap, on handling the overall economy well, on unemployment specifically, there is genuine sense of concern. And we are consistently seeing it in all your Mood of the Nations.
Absolutely. There is a very, very serious concerns about unemployment and also about the day-to-day budget of running the kitchen as well, Rajdeep. This has been so consistent. And initially we thought that it would be purely because of the COVID impact, but for the last 30 months in a row in our tracker, the number of people who are saying that managing the domestic budget has become difficult. The numbers are alarming. More than 2 out of, it's like 2 out of every 3 Indians,
forecast of household incomes, only 22% are saying will improve, 36% are saying will remain the same, and 33% are saying will worsen.
Exactly.
Are you getting, Siddharth Zarabi, a sense that when it comes to the economy out there, there is a feel-bad factor? I saw a poll recently about how businesses are planning to invest more. They believe consumption is finally picking up, but out there, at the bottom of the pyramid or just above it, people are hurting, is what our poll suggests.
Rajdeep, if we add the entire sort of perception-related findings that this survey presents, you have to look at inflation as the single biggest concern, because that it eats into income. And also look at the unemployment rate. I would say that the pressure and the perception, therefore, being negative in terms of the numbers that have been just described, is related to inflation now at a 15-month high. And inflation does not just impact present, but it impacts future spending ability and the confidence of any employed person. Big business versus small business, that's a debate that's been there for many, many years now. But I would say that the feel-good factor being marred is on account of inflation, and it's happened despite the RBI raising interest rates and despite now a 1-year freeze on petrol and diesel prices. So it is,
You've
in
been at
fact,
the
the most
B20
serious
conference
finding
the whole
according
day.
to me.
This is where a galaxy of top Indian and global CEOs have come together to talk about, where India is, what's happening in the B20, in the build-up to the G20. What's the mood that you've picked up there? What's the mood at that B20, especially when it comes to wanting to invest in the India story, Siddharth?
Absolutely bullish. And there have been several B20s that I've seen and witnessed and reported in the past. This is absolutely bullish, primarily on account of the fact that at the macro level, at the entire country level, from an investment flow, from a rules, policy, architecture based, this is the biggest and best opportunity for big business. And big business is able to deploy very large amounts of capital. And if you look at the CMIE employment tracker, which I think is the best tracker in real terms rather than a perception survey, big business has also been employing a whole lot of numbers. The pain points really are coming from the MSME space that does not get really represented, Rahul, at events like this. But when it comes to the world, they genuinely and seriously believe that India has its act together right now and provide an alternative, a genuine alternative to China, which for various reasons is in extreme or perhaps significant economic disarray.
Because when you look at the question, who benefited from Modi government's policies, 55% say big business, and this is very similar to what it was last time. Only 9% said small businesses, 8% said salaried class, 8% farmers, and 6% daily wage earners. So, Sanju Verma, there seems to be bullishness within big business. There is a sense that things will get better, investments will flow in, but informal sector, salaried class, daily wage earners, those who are unemployed, those at the bottom of the pyramid are hurting. Is there a recognition of that, or is that all going to be covered by saying, don't worry, be happy?
Rajdeep, the problem with you is you ask a very lengthy question. The moment BJP starts answering, you start interrupting. Now, I hope you will listen to me very carefully. Don't interrupt and listen to me very carefully because you've asked a very pertinent question.
I have not been rude to you. You should learn how to be less rude, but go ahead.
Rajdeep, I don't need lessons in demeanor and behavior from you. Thank you so much for your unsolicited advice. Now, let me come to the point. Yes, like you wouldn't take lessons from me in journalism, I don't need to take lessons from you in how to conduct myself on a debate.
Okay.
Now, I will just say this to you. What do you see here? This is a 500 rupee note, then another 100, another 100, another 100, another 100, another 100. So basically, what am I talking of? I'm talking of 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees have to be distributed. This is under the Modi government. बोला जाता था ये 1,000 रुपए direct benefit transfer के तहत गरीबों को बांटा जाए. What happens? The entire 1,000 rupees is distributed to the poor. No wonder, under the DBT, more than 28 lakh crore have been disbursed to the poor and the marginalized. That is precisely the reason that even the hit from inflation has been softened. Or rather, as they say, the blow has been softened. Now imagine that this was the Congress regime. 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees have to be disbursed under the Congress regime. बोला जाता है, be it Rajiv Gandhi or Manmohan Singh or Sonia Gandhi's kitchen cabinet. At the end of the day, how much does the poor marginalized person get in his hand, he or she gets this. 10 rupees. हाथ में सिर्फ 10 रुपए आता है.
I have to go by the survey numbers. It's a very interesting analogy you've done. It's a compelling analogy, but I have to go by the numbers. You seem to be denying the numbers. The numbers say people are hurting. No. Everybody gets limited time. You made your point.
Give me 20 seconds. Give me 20 seconds, please. Give me 20 seconds
more.
Thank you. Now, very quickly, just on inflation, cutting through the noise. I'm comparing the inflation figures, and these are World Bank numbers, not what Sanju Verma is throwing off her hat. World Bank numbers last, 5 years of UPA 2. 10.9, 12%, 8.9, 9.48, 10%. Average of the last 5 years of UPA 2, Congress-led UPA 2, the average inflation was 10.256. Now, last 5 years under Narendra Modi, World Bank figures, 3.73, 6.62, 5.13, 6.7, 5.1. Average inflation, despite two black swan events, one the COVID pandemic and one the Ukraine-Russia war. Despite that, average inflation under the Modi government is 5.45%.
Okay, not 20
so the Modi government has done
I've
a
given
brilliant
you
job.
time. You made a compelling argument
Congress.
that Supriya Shrinet should respond to. Supriya Shrinet respond, because what will happen is that while people are saying yes, things are unemployment serious, they're worried about inflation, when it comes politically, they will compare. And the first, the reflection that Mr. Modi has handled the economy better than Dr. Manmohan Singh, 44 versus 42, more or less in the same range. But the fact is, overall macro picture, people are not saying that the government has done bad. It's the micro level detailing where they're worried. And they will compare.
So, you should never tell a story which is half done. You should always paint the whole picture. I heard both Rahul and you quote Mr. Modi versus Dr. Singh. Let me quote the full picture for you. The January numbers of your survey, I'm quoting your survey, I'm not quoting my numbers. The January 2023 numbers put Dr. Manmohan Singh's handling of the economy at 36.2%. He has gone up nearly 6 notches to 41.9%, but Mr. Modi has come down from nearly 51%
no, ma'am, you will not intervene.
Down 7%
You are
there.
still not coming back to
the whole
power in
picture.
2024.
The country...
That's the hard truth.
The country
please put your finger down. Ma'am, she listened to you. You must have the courtesy to listen to others.
What is this nonsense?
Yeah, go ahead now. Supriya Shrinet, please continue.
So first, the whole picture. Mr. Modi's handling of the economy consistently dipping, even in your own survey, compare January 2023 to August 2023, down 7 odd percentage points there. The second data that both of you quoted, and I want to go back to the data because it's an important data. Handling of the economy of this government. It was 54% in January 2023. That's an outstanding. It's down to 47% there. So overall handling of the economy also down. Poor and very poor. It was 27.6% about 8 months back. It's down. It's over 32%, almost 31.1% right now. The last data that I want to point out, and this is a very important data because unemployment is the big Achilles heels of our times. Just compare the numbers, consistently going up as far as the very serious category is concerned. Your own data that I'm quoting to you, and I heard you say that, January 2022, the very serious unemployment problem was only at 45% according to your own survey. It is at 55.5% up, which is 10.5% up from January 2022. It has consistently gone up. I'm just giving you the stark up in that number.
Okay.
And of course, not at all.
But what I find interesting, Rahul, is that while these numbers are there, I'll take your time. You made your point. You made your point, because the fact is, while these numbers are there, what I find fascinating is that when you ask the question,
I want to point out, just 10 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Very quickly, please.
10 seconds. 10 seconds and that data explains it all. Between 2004 to 2014, according to the new caliber, how these guys calculate GDP, Indian economy grew at 7.5%. 2014 to 2023, the Indian economy has grown at an average of 5.7%. That answers every question.
Yeah,
no matter what
the
they
data
say,
doesn't always
the real
reveal the
rate
truth.
of
There have been
growth
black
is
swan.
much
There have been
lower
black swan
than what
events in
we available.
2008. There have been black swan events also in the last few years. So, the data doesn't reveal the true picture. What fascinates me is the fact that while people are worried about unemployment, they are worried about prices, when you ask them the question of who are you going to vote for, you're not seeing that same voter, you're not seeing 72% of those who are saying unemployment is serious translating into anger against the government, or a large number of people saying prices are hurting, or we're not being able to manage household budgets, translating into anger. If you go back to 2013, Rahul, a year before Manmohan Singh completed, there was anger visibly. Manmohan Singh's ratings had come down to 40%.
Because
approval.
people had lost faith in him.
That's right.
The difference is, despite 72% thinking unemployment is a big problem, they still think Narendra Modi is the best man to fix the problem.
So I think what it shows, Rahul, this survey is there is opportunity for the opposition. If the opposition was able to offer a better cohesive economic agenda, for example, that would convince people credibly that they could handle the economy better and provide genuine support to people, they may have a window of opportunity. Until then, people trust Modi, because the same people who are saying the economic situation is serious still perhaps believe in the leadership of Mr. Modi. So that's the disjunction in our poll. On economy, the government is in trouble, is my sense. But it's still seen as a government you trust. I don't know whether Shankar Iyer has an explanation whether it can happen anywhere.
Shankar, is the trouble behind us or is it ahead of us? Why I ask that is, if the worst days of the COVID pandemic, the turmoil because of Russia and Ukraine, what happened with interest rates in the US and elsewhere is behind us, as is being suggested, then going forward the economic graph and the trajectory looks upwards. If, however, there is trouble ahead, then that makes it tougher for the government as we build up to an election cycle.
Well, two quick points. I think the finance minister herself, Nirmala Sitharaman, has mentioned that there is a challenging time ahead. The IMF chief has said there is challenge. What we are facing is the post effect, or rather the long COVID being experienced by the global economy. China and Europe, we know what's the story. US probably will enter contraction at the end of the year or next year. The challenge for India is to make things happen as its advantage. It's the carpe diem moment for India. Is to how do you create those jobs? How do you leverage the shift in supply chains? How do you empower agriculture? And in all this, the role of state governments is very important, which is why you see a divergence in the way people vote in the states and in the center, particularly on issues. So one reason that the government should pay attention to more attention to the unemployment and the bottom of the pyramid thing is that unless they fix the problems in the labor code, land acquisition, and other issues, you will have more and more states announcing things like the 2,000 rupees bailout or the guarantee cards, and India simply cannot afford that kind of dole system. It's also morally hazardous at some level. So what are these measures showing you? That there is a great space opening up for alternate thinking. Before the 2019 elections also, the economy wasn't doing too well. We had various reasons, the demonetization, the introduction of GST, and the hit of that small sector took. In the run-up to 2024, the Modi government also is facing global challenges. The question is, what has the opposition got to offer in terms of what template do they offer? And I think this is the debate that should occupy space, but I suspect that it will not.
I think that's the critical question. And I think that shows in this poll, Rahul, that while the economy is a serious concern, until the opposition comes out with an effective narrative of how they would sort of transform people's lives, people will say we'd rather trust Mr. Modi as a stable leader who's been with us for the last 9 years.
To draw a cricketing analogy, the economic pitch is tricky to bat on, but who's the best batsman to be batting on that pitch?
That's right.
Can the opposition...
the pitch that there is a problem, there is a problem. The numbers are acknowledging, people are acknowledging there are problems. But just by saying that there is a problem and now we will get a default mandate, that is not going to happen.
Let's put our foot on the pedal and push forward. Question that I want to take up next is, how has your economic status changed since Prime Minister Modi took charge? Are you better off? Are you same as before? Are you worse off? Let's take a look at the responses in this question. 30% of the respondents in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll say the economic condition is improved. 28% say it's the same. 38% are saying it's deteriorated. Now that's interesting. There's an 8% gap between those who think their condition is better with those who think their condition is actually worse. Now that's something for the government to worry about. How do you see the performance of the economy over the next 6 months? So essentially, what's your confidence index? You have a business confidence index where you ask CEOs. This is the Janta Ka confidence index. Here are the responses. 31% of the respondents say the economic condition is likely to improve. 26% say it will stay the same. 34% say it's likely to worsen. Critical there again, 34% saying likely to worsen more than the 31% who think it's likely to improve.
And if you add Rahul 34 to 26, that's 60% who are saying either it will remain the same or worsen. So it's not as if they expect anything magical to happen in the next 6 months.
So the remain the same are not so problematic.
But worsen is problematic.
The worsen, the 1/3 of the respondents who are saying worsening, which is more than those who believe it will improve, that is like a red flag for the government.
Absolutely. So Siddharth Zarabi, do you go along with that? Do you believe, Siddharth, that things could get worse before they get better?
Well, Rajdeep, I think I heard only half of your question. You asked me, can things get better or worse? If that's the question, I would say that look at it from a different point of view. Inflation and out-of-pocket expenditure increase always spoils the mood of anyone, even the richest people. Of course, the margins are different. What is leading to the inflation spiral, apart from the food articles category? If you look at the profitability of our companies, all companies, you will see that their profitability has gone up very significantly. What does that tell you? It tells you that people are having to pay more and more. And I keep coming back to this single point. Inflation is the worst tax on the poor. The Modi government has insulated a very large section of our population from the immediate consequences of inflation through several of the programs, including the extended free food grain scheme. But when you look at the middle class, that's where most of the pinch is being felt. And I believe, Yashwant can correct me, that there would be a bias of more respondents from that class. And I would limit my answer to the following two things. It will be critical to see what the government does when it comes to petrol and diesel prices. Remember, they are frozen. Crude oil prices are on a downward spiral. Last year, there was an excise cut. Closer to the elections, what will the government do? The second bit is, how soon will this seasonality of vegetable price spikes and others be dealt with? Food grains, I think the government is acting tough by looking at, putting temporary bans on exports or limiting exports and restrictions. I think inflation is the single biggest problem that this government is grappling with. And that will, in 3 months' time, perhaps change the mood, Rajdeep.
Supriya Shinen, do you want to quickly respond, and I've got very little time, to what was said by Yashwant and by others, and then Sanju, you can also have your 30 seconds. We've come to the end of a mood of the nation which shows that the BJP is returning to power as if elections are held today. But there is a serious concern over the economy and the condition of people. I would say more about individual conditions. Do you have a plan in mind to reverse all this, to make yourself more electable? Quick response.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously we have a plan in mind, because unlike Mr. Modi and the rest of his cabinet, including the finance minister, we don't live in denial. We don't take the ostrich approach, which is to look away from the problem and the problem is going to solve itself. It hasn't. In the last 9 years, it has only worsened, which is why their average rate of growth is only 5.7% versus ours of 7.5%. The reality is that FDI inflows are down. The reality is unemployment is up. The reality is price rises hurting the poor. The reality is income.
You should not call the
Inequality has
BJP if you
increased.
don't want
That's
to
the
give us
reality of the Modi economy. Beat me on numbers.
Okay.
Let Sanju Verma
Yeah,
respond.
Sanju Verma, please respond now. 30
Thank
seconds,
you.
all yours.
Thank you now, and I will again give an illustration. You can see this is a glass full of water. A glass full of water. And now, this is what the Janta used to get under the Congress dispensation. The reason I'm trying to give this analogy, the reason I'm trying to give this analogy is...
No, Supriya Shinde, don't
Who were
intervene,
not
please.
suffering.
Supriya Shinde, you cannot intervene.
If the
You're
middle
doing the,
class
you're
did
committing
not
the same
suffer,
This is
mistake.
not fair.
backbreaking
Yeah,
prices.
it's not fair.
This is
Please
not fair.
put a fader down. Sanju Verma, go ahead. Show me more about the
Thank
glass.
you.
What are you trying to say?
Thank you. Thank you. This is a glass almost half full, and यहाँ पर आप देख रहे हो that the glass is not even 1/4 full. This is the BJP and this is the Congress. The point I'm making this analogy is that even something as basic as water, out of the 19.5 crore urban and rural households till 2014, before Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister, only 2.5 crore rural and semi-urban households had access to basic drinking water. And today, more than 14 crore households have access to basic drinking water, which means more than 70% of India's rural and semi-urban population gets water which they can drink straight out of the tap. But that is not the point. I will just quickly now finish. Rajdeep, at some point we all have taken loans, home loans. I think home loans is something that has been critical to the middle class across governments. Under the Congress, and you can verify this, I have done a study of the balance sheets of the biggest home loan lenders. Under the Congress, the prime lending rate, the basic lending rate at which home loan was given was 14%. If you had a 1 crore loan spread over 20 years, your monthly EMI was 1,43,000. Today for 1 crore loan spread over 20 years, your monthly EMI is 87,000 rupees at 8.5% MCLR. That is the difference. Under the Modi government, you are
So
getting...
we're running out of time on this show. I want final words from Rajdeep and from Yashwant about your biggest takeaway in this marathon coverage tracked so widely around the mood of the nation. What's your one big takeaway?
Yashwant, you first.
Well, I think the numbers are showing that people are showing the concerns with many of the things. They are appreciative of the fact that we have been through rough patches post-pandemic and everything. They are appreciative of the fact that the free food program and everything has actually helped the big chunk of bottom of the pyramid. But just having ration and being happy about it is not the thing. They want to see into a better future. They want to make sure that they get employment, they make good money, they take care of their families, and they are able to purchase that food rather than getting it free from the governments. You know, people generally think of it, Rajdeep, agar khana mil gaya hai, log khush hain. Nahin. Janta चाहती है, लोग चाहते हैं कि हम स्वावलंबी हों, हमें अपना खाना हम खुद खरीद सकें. And that concern is there, but that concern, they also see that possibility of finding the solution of that concern through Mr. Modi at this point.
Rajdeep.
You know, my sense is Indians at the moment are moving away from what was the coalition era to an era where they want a stable government.
Exactly.
Mr. Modi represents at the moment that sense of stability and strength as a leader. That's one. Number two, while people are hurting, and I think we must recognize that, they also live in hope of a better future. You've got to give them a dream for the future. Mr. Modi, when he talks of Amrit Kal and the possibility of what India will be in 2047, is offering a hope. The challenge for the opposition, and there is an opportunity there, is offer a counter vision, a narrative that is equally compelling, if not more. If you can do that, this could be a much tighter race leading into 2024.
The data suggests the Modi government is in pole position to get a third term. The data also suggests that there is economic distress and that distress is real. People are hurting. At this moment, the data suggests that they seem to think that Prime Minister Modi is the best agent of change who can promise a better future, but that is something the government cannot take for granted, because if you see questions around whether the economic situation is getting better or worse, more people think it's getting worse. More people also think economic policies are benefiting big business rather than the Aam Aadmi. Those are red flags that the government needs to look at very, very carefully. There is an opportunity there for the opposition, but in the absence of being able to win trust the government, for reasons of the failure of the opposition as much as their own performance, is well poised in August 2023 to come back to power in May, April next year. We will be back with another Mood of the Nation in January, just before the general election cycles begin.
And much will change between now and then. We are going to go into a big election season. Of course, G20 comes next month, and then there's a big election season, November, December. So plenty to look forward to. The mood of this nation can change, well, every 24 hours, some say. But this is a wonderful country, and it's great to get a sense of what people are thinking. You know, one concern I have, one question that he raised, and I want to put it here. Yashwant asked a question: which institution is best preserving democratic norms? The judiciary came first, the legislature came second, the executive came fourth, we in the media were third at 12% only thought that we were best preserving India's democratic ethos. So point to ponder for you, me, and all our media friends.
For watching the Mood of the Nation so carefully and for sharing your feedback, good, bad, ugly, thank you very much. We were accused in the same show of being unfair both to the BJP and the Congress by their spokespersons, but that's just the way life is. We take it in our chin and we move on. Goodbye, good night.
Namaskar.
The Indian government claims the removal of Article 370 that gave special status to Jammu and Kashmir is rectification of a historical mistake. Even after 4 years of scrapping Article 370, the decision is a topic of heated debates in the country. In the India Today-CVoter Mood of the Nation survey, we asked what should centre do to restore normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir. Around 25% backed restoring full statehood to Jammu and Kashmir but without Article 370. In contrast, 31% expressed the view that full statehood and Article 370 should be brought back. 22% of the respondents preferred to maintain Jammu and Kashmir's present status as a union territory. Stay tuned for more findings of the Mood of the Nation opinion poll on India Today. This is AI Sana signing off.